We're starting the stream, just waiting for the confirmation, and it looks like we are live. Okay, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join me today. We're going to be talking about the Bose SoundSport free wireless earbuds and about the firmware update. I'm going to also then answer as many questions as I can that came up when I did my first impressions video. And if you haven't seen that first impressions video and you want to, I'll be sure to put up after this broadcast a link in the card above so you guys can check it out. I'd also like to take a quick moment to invite you, if you haven't already subscribed, to subscribe so that we can continue to grow this community and share information so that we can all make better decisions and potentially save ourselves a little bit of cash or a little bit of heartache in that process as we, acquire gear. For those of you who have not been on my channel before, I'm a big fan of tech, and I primarily make content around filmmaking in a way that helps other people essentially avoid some mistakes or make some better decisions when they're choosing the gear. But going back to what we're talking about today, which is the Bose SoundSport free wireless earbuds. So I went ahead and I updated the firmware. And in case you don't know, on these wireless earbuds, the way that the firmware gets updated, it happens through the Bose Connect app. So essentially, you open up the app, which as you can see here, it's loading. And once you pull out the headphones, if there is, so you pull them out and it basically makes the headphones then connect to your device. And you can see, I'll show you here, basically all I have to do is drag down and it'll connect. So it says I am connected. So these were already connected. But once that happens, if there is a firmware update for them, you'll get a banner at the very top of the app saying there's a firmware update. So you click on it and it takes some time. For me, yesterday, and I have gigabit Ethernet or internet connection speed here in my studio, it took 2.5 hours for the firmware to download to my smartphone, so through the app. And then it took an additional 23 minutes for the firmware to go from the app to the earbuds. I then, of course, placed them back in so that they were reset. I rebooted my phone and I went ahead and I started testing, because the one thing that I wanted to sort out, whether it was going to help or improve, was that delay that happens when you're actually watching video. Now, if you watched my initial impressions video, you know that my primary use for these earbuds is to wear them when I'm working out. So I'm not actually, if I do anything on my mobile device or my watch, it's basically to read a text. So I'm not watching videos. But I realize that a lot of people, how convenient is it, right, to throw on the headset and then jump on the train or a bus or whatever it is that you're doing, and then pull out your phone and start watching YouTube, which is something that I do, especially when I'm traveling. If I'm sitting on a plane for an extended period of time, either I'm listening to music or I'm watching something on my phone or on my tablet. And there is what I would call a significant delay, and it's between 2 and 3 seconds. So it's a significant delay where you could see the person's lips moving and no sound is coming out. So then essentially the sound is always behind what you're seeing on video. I went ahead and I tested this with, of course, YouTube, using the YouTube app, and the delay is there. The delay is probably closer to 2 seconds on YouTube. If I use a web browser on, say, a tablet to access a YouTube video, then the delay gets closer to 3 seconds. And if I use, let's say that I want to watch Instagram stories, and I want the sound to come on, right? And someone is actually speaking. So as an example, I follow Peter McCannon, and he is on a trip to Iceland today, and he posted an Instagram story. I had my headphones on, I started watching it, and sure enough, his voice or his lips are moving and no sound is coming out, and it eventually catches up. So Instagram also has a delay. The other really popular application that I happen to use quite a bit is Netflix. And I tried loading a new movie on Netflix, Stranger Things. And if you guys haven't seen that or checked out that series, highly recommend it. It's incredibly well done, and it captivates you. So anyhow, I launched Netflix. I threw on a new episode of Stranger Things, and again, I can see the graphics, and then eventually the sound catches up. And when I finally get to a dialogue scene, I can see people's lips moving, and the sound is delayed. So it takes away from the experience. And it's something that, you know, for me, because I've only owned Bose wireless headphones, so I have like the Quiet Comfort noise canceling, I don't know, Quiet Comfort 5, I think is what they are. And that's what I use when I travel. There has always been a delay with video, which basically makes it so that for me, I don't want to use these headphones if I'm going to be consuming any kind of video. So again, on Facebook, it doesn't work. There's a delay and using the apps, right? So using the Facebook app, there's a delay. Using the YouTube app, there's a delay. Using the Netflix app, there's a delay. Watching DirecTV on your tablet or on your phone, there's a delay with the audio. YouTube, of course, there's a delay. So that's kind of my only gripe and my only issue. And the one thing that I wanted to make sure that I addressed, because it's something that has come up in questions, and I've been asked to make sure that I let people know what happens after you do the upgrade. So that's what happens. So now I'd like to take a quick moment and answer some of the questions that have been left in the comments. And yeah, so let's take a look. I'm going to be cheating and looking at my MacBook Pro here and reading some of the comments and then addressing or answering the questions. So Talvids said he has never experienced any kind of delay or lip sync with Bluetooth headphones. So his comment actually made me think that the problem might not be the headphones. It could be the operating system. So I use, you know, an iPad mini. I use an iPhone 7 Plus. I use a MacBook Pro, and behind me it's an iMac. So maybe the delay has something to do with the operating systems that I'm using, or that ecosystem of Apple that I'm using, and maybe on non-Apple products or Android devices there isn't a delay. I don't know, because I don't own any. I will, I guess I'll figure out if I could borrow somebody's, you know, Android phone or tablet and see if it makes any kind of difference. But at this point, I'm not the right person to answer that question, because I'm not an Android user and I also don't own a PC. But it could be the Apple that's causing the delay. So that might be the issue. I'm not sure. And then let's see. Project Pi HD asked, how did I get my hands on these if when I did my first impressions, the Bose SoundSport Free were still on pre-order? And that's all I did. I basically, when I saw the announcement from Bose, I went ahead and I placed a pre-order from B&H, and I'll put a link down in the notes in case you guys want to use that link and support the channel. But essentially, that's all I did. I placed a pre-order, and roughly 10 days later, they arrived in the mail. And on the website, they still showed up as pre-order only. So I'm not sure how that worked out or why that worked out that way, but essentially, as soon as they were available to pre-order, I went ahead and did that, and they showed up before they were available for purchase with inventory on hand. So that's how that worked out. Let's see. Giovanni Marino said the deal breaker for him is that when you're taking a call, you only get sound out of the right ear. So even you have them both connected, right? So not one of them is in there. You have both in your ear, and a phone call comes through, and sure enough, the sound only comes out of the right ear. Also, any commands. So as an example, if I have these in, and I want to go from them being paired on my phone to being paired on my Apple Watch, I would press and hold the left button on the top, and that would trigger the Bluetooth so that it would disconnect from my phone, and then it would allow these to go back into pairing mode. The command saying you're now disconnected or ready to pair only comes out of the right ear. So phone calls, you only hear the person speaking out of the right ear, and that is the deal breaker for Giovanni. And I gotta say, after using the Bose Quiet Comfort 5, the other wireless Bluetooth headset that they have that covers your ears, noise canceling, for well over a year, and being able to take phone calls and hear them with both ears or participate in conference calls, and again, have the sound in both ears, this takes a little getting used to, going back to the whole one ear thing, because all of a sudden, for me anyway, my attention span changes, and because I'm hearing other things. So yeah, I can totally relate, and I can see why that would be a thing. Let's see, other comments here. So I mentioned about how I only need to charge them, essentially once per week. And the main reason is because the case itself will hold 2 full charges. So that gives me roughly 15 hours of airplay out of the AirPods. So his question specifically was, do I put them back in the case when I'm not using them? And the answer is yes. So essentially, every time that I take them out of the case, they're at 100%. And because I'm only using them when I work out, my workouts are between 30 and 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. So yeah, I only have to charge them once, throw them back in here. And actually at this point, yeah, it's been 5 days since I charged them, and they're still good. So let's see, other questions here. Tony Ale said, what happened to my finger? So when I was doing, this is kind of funny to me. When I was doing my first impressions video, I had a camera that showed my desktop, and I had a Band-Aid on this hand because for some reason I was working on a video production project, and I was rigging up some lights. And how or why I managed to slice a very thin coat of skin right off of this finger, I have no idea. And that day when I was doing my first impressions video, I couldn't get the bleeding to stop, right? Because it just kept seeping out. So I threw a Band-Aid on there. So it's no big deal. That's what happened. I know, stupid. Last thing, let's see. Fahad Abdullah said, thank you for the nice presentation. So thank you, Fahad. Can you use one headset or should you put both in? If you choose to use only one headset, it has to be the right ear, because that's the one that controls the volume up and down. It allows you to take a call, it allows you to end a call, and it gives you all of the prompt commands. On that note, and very quickly, if you happen to be only using one earbud, and you want to watch, say, Netflix or a YouTube video, you will not have audio delay issues. Your audio and your video will be perfectly in sync. So my best guess is that that delay is happening to allow the sound to come out of both ears at the same time. And it may be a limitation on the hardware, but in retrospect, going back to that very first comment from Travis Vids, he has never experienced delays with Bluetooth headsets. So I don't know. I guess it's the best way to put it. So yeah, those were all of the questions that came up. And again, I just wanted to give you guys a quick little update after updating the firmware on the Bose SoundSport free wireless earbuds. Well, there was one other thing that came up actually from my original unboxing video. And if you guys haven't seen that video, let me just say, you don't have to. I was in the kitchen cooking when they arrived, and I couldn't help myself. I used my Sony a6500. I threw on a wide lens. I put it on auto, and yeah, that's what that video is. So there are no close-up product shots or anything. But in that video, there was a question about, well, how do they look? And obviously, when I'm wearing them, I'm going to show you, I can't tell how they look. I mean, if I look at my monitor here, I can see that they stick out. You know, how obtrusive are they, or how gnarly do they look? I feel like they're kind of subdued. You know, they're a lot more subdued than my big over-the-ear ones. I'm able to carry a conversation as long as I pause the music and have a conversation and hear just fine, because these are not noise canceling. They do sort of seal your ear a bit, so you hear yourself talking a little nasally, or like you're in your head, but the person that is talking to you sounds essentially normal. Maybe a little muffled, but not that much. As far as sound quality, I'm just gonna say, out of all of the headsets that I've used for casual listening or leisure, I really do enjoy Bose sound. You know, I have a Bose system at home in my entertainment system. I use Bose speakers for my computer system. I really do enjoy their sound. These earbuds, surprisingly, and this is something that I did not expect because it's not something that Bose has been known for, but they have a significant bass presence. And I think that that's actually kind of cool because I like bass. The other thing that I thought was incredibly interesting is that however they tune their EQ allows you to enjoy like that full range of sound regardless of what volume you're listening to. You know, there are some headphones where if you turn it down too much, all of a sudden the bass disappears, or you turn it up too much, all of a sudden the highs are so bright that, you know, it makes you cringe a little. With Bose, you get that consistency of sound, and yes, the levels go up, at least I say with Bose, but with these, the SoundSport free wireless earbuds, Bluetooth, right? Regardless of the sound level, that richness of the full tone is there. And that was a very nice surprise. I didn't expect it. And when I started noticing it, I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, I can turn the volume down and the bass is like nice and rich and deep. Or I can turn the volume up a little bit and the bass is not like overpowering my ears and drowning out the rest of the sound. So that was really cool. So, you know, I don't know, that's I guess a little extra tidbit for what it's worth. But How do they sound? They sound great. How do they look? I think you guys have to make that call. For me, I'm not a, I mean, look at me. I'm not a fashion guy, right? I'm not. So this is acceptable, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay, guys, that's all I have. And Zach, hey Zach, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Core, how you doing? Thank you for joining. Are they, oh, I heard, so this is interesting. So Core just said he's going to buy them as soon as they're released in Europe. And what I think is interesting is that for whatever reason, Bose is going to delay like into 2018 when they release them into Europe. I'm not sure why, but that seems like a crock of shit. Just, I don't know. Like, why would anyone have the ability to get something sooner? Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. I kind of like the way that Apple does it, right? When they release their new whatever, every country gets it. And I feel like that's more fair. Anyhow, if there are no other questions, I think that's going to wrap it up. But yeah, the bad news is that the firmware update did not solve the audio delay issues on any of the apps, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, or DirecTV. The audio delay is still there. And yeah, that is the one thing that sucks about these. Anyhow, thank you very much for taking the time to stop by my channel. Really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, again, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Until then, take care.